Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to this next edition of our From There to Here broadcast or podcast. I'm your host, Lawrence Temple, and my guest today is Miss Tonya Jackson. She is a certified school counselor here in Florida, and I wanted her to talk about her own path to do what she's doing, and it also to get some of her insights, and because she works with youth, teenagers, and just insights into people in general. So I've been looking forward to this for quite a while. Miss Jackson, how are you doing?
I'm doing good today, Mr. Temple. How are you?
I am doing excellent. Are you familiar with the phrase, the expression, elevator speech? Heard that before?
Yes. Yes.
And for those who don't know, an elevator speech is if you're on an elevator with someone, you're only with them for a few seconds. And if they were to ask you, who are you or what are you about? Elevator speech is like boiling down everything you're about in just a few seconds because you're going to be out the elevator soon. So if I were to ask you what your elevator speech would be, what do you think that would be?
So for me, I'm a native, local girl, grew up in the projects, one of those success stories that made it out. But just personable. Personable because I've always wanted to give back. Um, and that would be my biggest thing. Also wanted to help the youth. The youth has always been something that I've wanted to work with. I had others trying to tell me different routes and roads
Hmm.
and paths that I should take. And I tried it. I tried it. Trust me, I tried it. It didn't work. I was always drawn back to helping people, helping adolescents, which I think just was my calling from God. Because every other route I tried, it just did not work. So um, for
Yeah.
me, yeah, just a local girl that grew up in the projects.
And I got a thousand directions I can go just from the few things that you said already. One, what are some of the other things that people encourage you to do when they saw your talents and abilities and stuff? And probably like when people say they want to be a teacher, it's, oh baby, don't do that. You could be a boom, 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 right? So what did people want you to be or do?
So for me, it was more my parents. Like when it came time for me to go to school, I wanted the HBCU experience because my aunt went to Spelman. I had
Okay.
seen it. That's what I wanted. But my parents were like, no, you're going to the University of Florida. That's where you're going. So you apply and that's what it's going to be. So for them it was like you need to get a degree in engineering or you need to get a degree in something where you're going to make a lot of money.
Right.
And I'm sitting back looking like, okay, although I do well in school, I struggle in math, but
Mm-hmm.
you said go for engineering, so I'm gonna try to follow what you said.
Okay.
But I actually was led to education by folks. They would always say, you need to get your minor in education. And
Mm,
like you said, I was like, they don't pay enough money. Education? Mm-mm. But as things would turn out,
mm.
I would end up in education, just listening to some older people that I had in my life, as
Okay.
well as watching my older cousin as well.
Okay. I that's what the show is called, From There to Here, to see how you got from A to C, B to C to whatever. You talked about the fact that apparently you didn't come born with the silver spoon in your mouth. Grew up in the
Mm-hmm.
projects. It's a general question that might be too broad, but I always like to ask people who did not come from a wealthy background. Like my wife is from a very poor little town in Alabama, similar story.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the reason that you have made it to where you've made it, if I can be that general, whereas a lot of people who were born in the same experiences, neighborhoods, whatever as you, maybe have not had the same experiences and success. What's the difference between your path and theirs? Is it just luck, lightning? What's the difference?
So for me, I don't consider anything luck. My path was truly God driven.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I came from both my parents were addicted, so I have that background.
Okay.
But in that same token, although they had their own battles, they always made sure that education was number one.
Wow.
So it didn't matter what they were doing on the outside. When it came to getting my education and
Yeah.
doing what I needed to do, it was always first and foremost. They kept a tight rein. So even though I grew up in Caroline Village in Soul City,
Yeah. Yeah.
I could not roam the neighborhood. They basically picked out who I could hang with, who I couldn't hang with.
Okay.
It was none of that dating, going out, any of that until I was 16.
Okay.
So my parents ran a tight show. I was mostly with family, and I do have an educated family. So several of us on both sides of my family
Mm-hmm.
went to college. So education was just always number one. It didn't matter. And I chuckle because if you know my mom, she would say, "You're going to get out of here. You
Right.
are not going to live in the projects. You're going to get out of here." And so she was like, "You got two options. You go to college or I kill you."
Oh. Oh my. Okay.
Sounds, it's funny because I know, of course, she wouldn't have killed me,
Yeah.
but that was her two options.
Okay.
You will break this cycle because she was a young mom,
Okay.
and you're gonna make something of yourself.
Now, there's a lot to be said for that. Okay, maybe not kill in 2025. Probably can't. 26. Probably can't say that. But it seems like, well, what you're saying, there is something about being firm with the kids about you're not like we have debates about giving kids so many options sometimes, and maybe it's good to cut some of those options down sometimes and say you're gonna do this.
Right. And that's true in the field that we're in, both educators. I think right now the students have so many options until
Mm-hmm.
they get overwhelmed and they never really hone in on what's good for them, what's the best path for them. They're trying to please all these other people. They're
Mm-hmm.
trying to listen at what their friends and social media tells them to do, until they never really do really what they want to do or what their passion is. They kind of lose that.
Well, on that, a question that I often ask my guests at the end, as kind of a hypothetical, but you could kind of do it as a real one. I say, pretend you have a friend and they have a child who's 17, 18, they're about to get out of high school. Good kid, they've been doing the right things, but the child said they're really not sure what they want to be or do with their life. And your friend says, would you take them out to dinner or lunch and just talk to them, and maybe you can help them with that problem? What kind of things would you imagine you would say to a 17, 18-year old? They've done everything right in high school, but they just don't know what they want to do with their life.
So,
What
my
would you say?
first question to students is always, what is it that you want to do? Don't tell me about what your parents have told you, what they want for you to do, or the
Okay.
picture that they painted for your life. I want to hear exactly what it is that you want to do, what it is that you love, what are some of your hobbies, and then we just go from there. Then I'll tell them, if because a lot of times
Mhm.
we get, I don't know. I have seniors sitting in my office
Yeah.
in January of their senior year, and I can guarantee you Wednesday they still don't know.
Okay.
So it's about finding, that interest. Get them to do some interest inventories.
Mm.
I'm big on taking campus tours. You don't know if you like it or if it's for you
Mm.
until you step foot on the grounds of if it's a trade school, if it's a 4-year university, if it's a job you're applying for. I'm a firm believer in you have to actually put yourself there to
Mm.
feel it. And
Okay.
once you feel it, you know.
I like. Okay. I like that, and I like that you mentioned different options. You mentioned trade school, or you talked about HBCUs or PWIs, or all the kind of the different options out there. How aware do you think young people, it's since you work at high school, how aware do you think the average kid is about the different options that exist in the world? Because I found in my little, I talk to kids about that a lot, and it seems like a lot of them just don't even really know what there is to do in the world. How aware do they seem to be in your experience?
This current generation, not a lot. Not a lot, which is kind of shocking to me because we have so many resources in our backyard. But they just, I don't know if they don't have the resources to explore it or they don't make the time to explore it. But for me, Daytona State's Advanced Technology Center is a wealth of information. And I'm always shocked as to how many kids don't know about the programs that are out there.
Yeah.
I tell parents all the time, just call and schedule a tour. Or you can even email, you can do it online now. Just
Hmm.
schedule a tour and let them walk them through the programs. We need so many students in trades. Um, I know the hotbed is welding. I want to be a welder. I want to be a welder.
Yeah, I hear
Do
that
you
too.
know what it takes to become a welder? Do you know what it takes to become an electrician? Um, I don't see that we have a great percentage of students in today's world
Yeah.
wanting to go and get that 4 year degree. A lot of them are, I want to go to work, I want to make money. They're using social media. I'm gonna be a YouTuber, I'm gonna be a blogger because they see
Hmm.
them making all of this money. They don't understand that that's like the top 2%, like in the NFL.
Yeah.
You just don't come out of high school and you're making $1 million on YouTube. You have to build yourself up to that.
Hmm.
So they're just not exposed to what we have right here in our backyard.
Yeah, and I'm a big proponent of the trades too. I went to college, so when I first started teaching, I thought every young person should go to college like I did.
Mhm.
And after about a year, I realized, wait a minute, that's not everybody's world. So I pushed them to do something after high school, but it could be the trades, it's a military, whatever works for you. So I had to grow in that area, but I got it now.
Hmm. Hmm. In the military, that's another great resource. I always tell the story about my nephew, brilliant, brilliant kid. He had the opportunity to go to UF on a presidential scholarship,
Hmm.
or the Air Force Academy. He chose the Air Force Academy. Of course, me being me, I can't understand that. What? You don't want to be a Gator? What's wrong with you? They're going to give you a full ride. You want to go be in the Air Force? That's crazy. Then you
Hmm.
got to move all the way across country. But looking back, number one, that was the best thing for him.
Okay.
And number two, the opportunities and doors that opened for him, other students just won't have that opportunity. But the fact that he stood firm on what he wanted to do, it's what happens at
Hmm.
times.
Got that. Now, when you mentioned standing firm, going back to you back, say when you were in high school, and then
Mhm.
comparing it to kids who would be in high school now, you went to UF, so I imagine you had good grades and hard classes in high school and did the things to get you ready. I've noticed that sometimes students have to battle not just their grades and classes, but sometimes the opinions of other students as far as you're in the smart class, the nerd class, these kind of opinions from other kids. Was that something that you remember dealing with, or and what kind of guidance would you give kids or the parents of kids dealing with that now? They want better, but maybe a lot of kids are in their circle kind of give them a hard time for it.
So I did. For me, so I went to Spruce Creek. We'll just say it. Elephant in the room. I went to Spruce Creek, and we know just back in that time, it wasn't a ton of support for African American students.
Okay.
It wasn't. We had to get it how we had to get it.
Okay.
But I'm thankful for my school counselor at the time was Miss Eberhardt, because the counselor that I had when I went to her to apply to UF,
Yes.
she actually told me, I don't think that that's for you. You need to apply to Bethune or FAMU.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, that's not what I asked you for. I asked you to help me with my application to UF. Long story short, I ended up switching counselors.
Okay.
And with that switch, gave me the support that I needed to stand strong in my classes because a lot of times I was the only brown girl in there or a
Okay.
brown student for that matter. But I think it helped set me up for the next path in my life. So when I got
Okay.
to UF, it wasn't a shock to be in the classroom. In the neighborhood, dealing with having good grades,
Hmm.
it wasn't huge. Like I think people knew that I did well in school, but it wasn't something like I bragged about.
Okay.
Like I got my report card and just sat down on the bus. And this story is kind of funny.
Mm.
So I sat in the front of the bus because in the back of the bus, they back there cutting up. I didn't
Yep.
want to be a part of that.
Yes.
So I sat in the front of the bus quiet. It was report card day, and the bus driver at this time was asking for report cards.
Oh wow.
So people were handing their report cards, and she looking at them, and she going off. Some kids she telling good job. So she looked over at me and she said, "Well, can I see yours?" And I was like, "Sure." At this time, I think I had all A's and a B. And she was like, she just took it from there. This is a girl who get on this bus every day. She's quiet. She don't say nothing. Da, 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 da.
Mm.
Look at these grades. I had like a 3.8, 3.9. I can't remember what it was. But that was just me. Like I'm not boastful. I'm not. I'm quiet for the most part. I just go to work. I do my
Yep.
job. I go home. So I had some peers that would make little smart remarks. They would say things like, "Oh, she always trying to be smart," or "She always out looking for a scholarship," or
Supposed to do that, right?
that's what, yeah, we're supposed to do. And me being an upward bound, that's what
Yeah.
we're taught to do. I
Yeah.
was taught to go out and look for those scholarships. I was taught to, just kind of look out for myself, keep my grades up and that type of thing. So I didn't think anything different.
Yeah. I, I've encountered that a lot with kids, and I deal with it somewhat too. Myself. Um, Kids made to feel like they're not supposed to pursue the things we know we're supposed to pursue. So
Mhm.
that's why I definitely wanted to ask you about that. What was your experience like at UF? Again, coming from Daytona, you're from Carolina and everything, going to UF, which because some who knows who will hear this. So some people don't know. You mentioned Bethune-Cookman or FAMU. They are HBCUs for those who don't know, historically black
Mhm.
colleges and universities. Whereas University of Florida is a very large, what we call PWI, predominantly white institution. Um, what was that experience? And I'm a Gator too, class of '89, go Gators.
Go Gators.
What was your experience like there?
Um, Overwhelming. It was
Mm,
overwhelming. Again, I floundered for 2 years. So I went, my first summer I was good. My dad told me to stay away from certain places and certain people.
okay.
That first semester, that first summer, I listened. The fall of my freshman year, though,
Yes, ma'am.
school was on the back burner. I went to class if I had time.
Okay.
By the time I got to the fall of my spring semester, I was on academic probation. So my
Okay.
Bright Futures was in jeopardy. My other scholarships were in jeopardy.
Mm.
Of course, I couldn't tell my parents. And, at that time, they don't get your information. So they mail it home, but I'm running to the mailbox every day so I can get it. And I told my older sister, I was like, I'm in trouble. I was like, they're about to send me home. And she was like, Mom is going to kill you.
Okay.
So I just had to find my way. I was in those classes at first because I started in the College of Engineering, which it's tough.
Yeah.
So then I was like, yeah, that's not for me. So then I went to the College of Business. And as you know, the College of Business is huge.
Yeah.
So you're in those econ classes and accounting classes with 500 kids.
Yeah.
You're just a number. The professor teaches the first class at 7 o'clock and they play it on the TV for the rest of the day.
Wow, I forgot that. I remember
You
that.
remember that?
I do.
So you end up with tape stacked up like this that you haven't watched all semester. So it was tough. It was an adjustment.
Wow. How did you right the ship? How did you get yourself together?
So church, believe it or not, I found a church home in Gainesville. It was called Mount Moriah.
Yep.
You went to Mount Moriah?
I visited. I was in the gospel choir and we sang there a time or two or something like that. Yes.
Yes, Mount Moriah. So I had to leave the partying alone, got back in church, got back in my studies, got grounded again, and then I started to pick things up from there. I also had to be honest with myself and tell myself that, okay, engineering, now business, is not for you.
Okay.
So, what is it that you're going to do to make sure that you get out of this college? And thankfully, by the grace of God, I always took classes that I considered my easy classes that I flew through them, A's and B's, no problem, which was sociology,
Uh,
which I love. So when it came time for me to get out on time, my advisor was like, if you graduate with a degree in sociology, you will get out of here in 4 years. And I
okay.
was like, that's what we need to do then, because I need to get out of here in 4 years.
Okay. I got it. I didn't. That's it. That's so interesting. So that's good. I understand that. Because I figured that you had been on the counseling path from the day you got at UF, and I see now that just like many people, what you end up graduating with is not what you went to school for in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I did community social work. I graduated on May 5th. By May 7th, I had my first job as a targeted case manager
Okay.
at Our Children First. I absolutely love this job. Loved it. I did it for 4 years straight,
Wow.
just helping families in the community. And I was on the west side. So I was DeLand, Deltona, Pearson,
Mm-hmm.
Osteen, all those places. Absolutely loved it. And then in our office, we had suite mates. So it was a young lady named Winona. I never forget. She was at Stetson at the time getting her master's degree in counseling. And she was like, I think you should go to an interest meeting. I think, that you would be good at being a counselor and, get your master's degree. And I'm like, girl, I'm not trying to go back to school.
Yeah.
But also I had my cousin in my ear telling me, you need to go back to school for, go into education. Because when she's off on breaks, I'm working and we want to travel. And I'm like, yeah, I do need to do that because I do like, you had them summers off, so I need to do it. So long story short, I went to the interest meeting for the school counseling program that Stetson was trying to start up again. Again, I think this is divine intervention. I was a cohort of one. I was the only person
Wow.
in Stetson's school counseling program that year. Um, but that's how it happened. That's how I got into school counseling.
I love this. That's why the show is called what it's called. Seeing how people walk the winding road to do what they're doing. I went to Stetson also for my undergrad. My major was not education, and they had uh, an institute something to get you
Mhm.
certified quickly, and then later on when I went to administration, that's why I went for my administration class. So yeah, and I had a great Stetson experience, definitely.
Me too. Going from a big university to a small university, absolutely loved it.
Same thing, same I
Hmm.
had same path, same experience.
That's
Um,
fun.
have you? Well, how about besides talking about your path, I wanted to get some of your insights about what you've noticed about people, kids, your perspectives, or things like. Sometimes I like to ask my guests who are in education, what is it that you see that young people need? I know it's very general, either from their parents or what they need from other adults. What are the needs that you see? I don't know if this is too general a question. What do you see that young people need today? Pretty broad, but what would you say about that?
So for me, resilience, and coping skills.
Okay.
A lot of time, what we see in education, and they go from 0 to 100. Let's say they get in trouble or something happens at home. There's no coping in between. It's I'm gonna kill myself or I'm gonna hurt myself or so we jump right from boom to boom. It's coping skills, resilient mechanisms. Parents, don't take your hands off of them. We hear this so much in high school. When they come into ninth grade, parents will say, well, I feel like they old enough now that they need to be able to do X, Y, and Z by themselves. I shouldn't have to go behind them and do X, Y, and Z. And I'm always like, yeah, please do X, Y, and Z and one, two, and three
Mm,
until they cross the stage.
okay.
Because their maturity is not like ours was as we were coming up.
Mm-hmm.
We had to be a lot more mature than they are. This generation, they're given everything from birth. That cell phone is in their hand before they can talk. Um, Amazon is at the front door before they can say, I need.
Mm.
Mama is dropping money in that cash app before they can really feel, how am I going to make this happen?
Okay.
So it's just that one, instant gratification isn't the real world. You need to work for it so that you can feel it and you can feel that it's real. Um, Prayer, keep your children in prayer. Don't it's just a cruel world out here, and
Yeah.
we see it all the time. And a soft spot for me is our black men.
Okay.
We see it all the time with our black men. The world is not as forgiving to them. So I preach a different story to them in my office just because you live in two different worlds. I wish I could tell you something different.
Okay.
Um, AA women too, African American women too, but I think African American women have learned how to do,
Okay.
how to cope, how to stand a little more than our boys have or our
Mm.
men have.
Mm.
Um, and so for me, and it's exposure. Expose them to the positive things in life. If they're not an athlete, okay, what is it? Do they like music? Do they like acting? Do they like fashion? Do they want to dance? What is it? It doesn't have to be academic. It doesn't have to be athletic. Not everyone is going to be LeBron James or, whoever's out there, Jalen Hurts. That's not going to be everybody's path. It's okay to do something different.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that's one of my little mini sermons. Is that I love sports. I love to see young people in sports or clubs, or any kind of activity because it
Mm-hmm.
teaches them so many things. But I guess my love hate relationship with sports is the unrealistic expectations that kids, and now I'm seeing even their parents have, that some kid in the 10th grade who's not even a starter, thing like I've encountered, their parent is pressuring them that you have to be some kind of professional and
Mm-hmm.
take care of the family. And they
Mm-hmm.
say it like it's a fact. And I've had kids tell me the whole family's counting on me to go to college as an athlete and be a pro. And I'm thinking, Johnny, I don't even know your name, which means you're not good enough that you're gonna could expect that. So I love the sports, but I love what you're saying that can't be their focus because it's such a small number what really do that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And stop putting that pressure on your kid to take care of the whole family. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. And how are you going to build this kid up so that they are a productive citizen in our society?
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, that's one of my big ones, very
Mm-hmm.
big one. Yeah, goodness. Another topic just with young people is the whole aspect of dating. I've talked to parents who say they feel unequipped, I guess, to to address those things, dating boys, girls, the whole thing. If a parent that of a ninth grader were to come to you and say, "Hey, I know my child's going to be interested in dating or whatever. This is my first child. I don't know how to bring this up. I don't know how to address this." What would you share with them to help them with that?
What do those grades look like? No,
Say, okay,
do always
okay.
say that. I do always bring it back to academics before we talk about boy girl relationships. But however, we do know it's gonna happen. It's human nature. I ask parents, what is your relationship with your child? Do they feel comfortable enough to come and talk to you? And a lot of times I get the parent to say, I don't know, I think so. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Mom and Dad, you need to do some work. If you don't truly know if your child is willing to come and share with you about life experiences, then some work needs to be done for sure.
Okay.
Just because, It's so much that could go on out here, and they spread so much misinformation
Okay.
until it's dangerous to not know if you have that relationship with your student or not.
It's important. Wow. That's okay. That's big. I do like you that you hit those grades first, but then
Always.
okay.
Let's pull up this grade book and see if Sarah need to be interested in boys. Because if she can't read,
Oh my.
we need to focus on that.
Okay. That's true. And you know, I've in my school experience, because for those who don't know, I'm an administrator and a teacher in public school and secondary. I find that the dynamic of parents wanting to be, particularly if there's younger parents, they want to be buddies with their child and they want to be cool. And sometimes that limits how much parenting they're doing because they're trying to be cool or maybe relive their teenage years through their teenage child because maybe they had them young and they didn't have to do all that. Uh, and that dynamic of trying to be a friend seems to get in the way of parenting. Do you see that dynamic at all in your experiences?
Absolutely. Especially like you said with the younger parents that come in. A lot of times it's like, you know, how old were you when you had her? You have to be mom. And this coming from someone who doesn't, I don't have children. But I have worked in the system for almost 20 years now, and
Right.
just seeing the same patterns, being able to tell moms or dads, hey, and where's that line where they know
Hmm.
you're not their buddy, your mom or your dad? Do they know that? Do they know when to stop the joking? Do they know when it's, playtime is over?
Hmm.
Do they know when you set boundaries and say, give me that phone at 9 o'clock? It truly is. Give me that phone at 9 o'clock, not wait until I fall asleep and you come back in here and get it.
Oh wow. Okay.
Um,
That's real. Yeah.
so it's just the boundaries that parents have, those clear boundaries that parents have with their students. Now, I do see a lot of young parents who do it well. Um, they come in, from the time they walk through the door that they mean business. And I often look at the kid like, your parents don't play. Why? Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Right. I've said I've said that word for word to kids before. I've said, "Have you met your mother before? Why
right.
why would you do such and such? Why have you met your mom?" Yeah. Okay. I understand
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm seeing the same thing. Here's my last question here with the time I have remaining. I know as a teacher, when students tell me about the things they want to do after high school, particularly if they're talking about college or trade school, I try to push them, particularly like 11th grade or so. I said, "Have you talked with your counselor?" I try to
Mhm.
push them to you all, and I encourage them even to have their parent come. Like when they say they want to go to college, but they sound very fuzzy about the detail. So I guess my last question is, what should maybe a kid's in the 11th grade, they know for a fact they want to go to traditional college, but they don't know what they should be doing at this point. What would you encourage in general a, a child should be doing or asking, say in their 11th grade year, and they say they want to go to college?
So for me, you said it absolutely right. Please reach out to that counselor. We preach that 11th grade is your most important high school year because 11th grade, up until 11th grade, is what the colleges are going to pull to assess if you get into their university. By the time you get your first semester of your senior grades, college applications have already been due.
Said that.
So your senior year grades, although they are important for graduation purposes and going to that college, what you do up through ninth, 10th, and 11th grade. So make that appointment with your counselor. Sit down, have those conversations. Just like you said, bring your parent. That is your time to get any questions answered that you need. 11th grade is your time to take campus tours, whether it's the trade school, it's the university, or it's the company that you're looking at. Like I'm a big proponent of Publix. If you
Okay.
can get on with Publix, you can move your way up through the chain from a bad boy to a general manager.
Mm.
those companies like that are life sustaining companies for students. So I'm always just, there's no right or wrong way to do this thing called life.
Okay.
Just remember it's your life, and you have to be willing to live it and accept any consequence that comes with the decisions that you make. And as long as you can do that, you'll be fine.
That's good. That's the sentence of this whole episode right there. Your choices and you living with the consequences. That's excellent. Well, Miss Jackson, I do appreciate and have enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Mr. Temple, anytime.